Imagine finding an object so strange that despite 200 years of study, hundreds of expert archaeologists, and modern computer analysis, no one can agree on what it was used for. The Roman dodecahedrons are small bronze objects with 12 pentagonal faces, each face containing a circular hole of different size, with knobs protruding from each corner. Over 130 have been found across the Roman Empire, yet not a single ancient text mentions them. Not one painting depicts them. No inscription explains their purpose. They're too precisely crafted to be toys, too deliberately designed to be decorative, too widespread to be one-off experiments. Yet the Roman Empire, a civilization that documented everything from military tactics to cooking recipes, left absolutely no record of what these objects were for, as if an entire category of Roman technology or ritual practice was deliberately erased from history. Or perhaps these objects were so common, so mundane, that no one thought they needed explaining, like trying to explain what a spoon is. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Roman dodecahedrons are archaeology's most frustrating mystery, why every theory explaining them has fatal flaws, and why this puzzle might never be solved despite being literally held in our hands. But first, if ancient objects that defy all explanation fascinate you, hit that subscribe button. This mystery will make you question how much we really know about the past. The first Roman dodecahedron was discovered in the 18th century, but no one knew what to make of it. It looked like nothing from the classical world that scholars recognized. As archaeological excavations expanded across Europe in the 19th and 20th centuries, more dodecahedrons turned up, and each new discovery deepened the mystery rather than solving it. Geographic distribution to date: approximately 130 Roman dodecahedrons have been discovered, primarily in Britain and northern Gaul, modern France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germania, modern Germany, parts of Switzerland and Austria. Scattered finds in northern Italy. Here's what's strange: they're found almost exclusively in the northern provinces of the Roman Empire. Very few have been found in Rome itself, almost none in the Mediterranean regions, and absolutely none in the Eastern Empire. This geographic pattern is crucial because it suggests these objects served a purpose specific to northern climates or northern Roman culture. Physical description: Roman dodecahedrons are typically made of bronze or brass, though a few stone examples exist. They measure between 4 and 11 centimeters in diameter, roughly the size of a baseball or smaller. Each dodecahedron has 12 pentagonal faces. Each face contains a circular hole, and critically, each hole is a different diameter. The holes range from very small to quite large, following no obvious mathematical pattern. Each of the dodecahedron's 20 vertices, corner points, there's a knob or protrusion, like a small ball or button, attached to the corner. Craftsmanship: the dodecahedrons show sophisticated metalworking. The faces are precisely formed, the holes are carefully drilled, and the knobs are attached with skill. These aren't crude objects. They required significant expertise to create. Based on associated finds, coins, pottery, and other artifacts discovered with the dodecahedrons, they date primarily to the 2nd to 4th centuries CE, the Middle to Late Roman Empire. If you're already puzzled by how the Romans could create hundreds of these objects yet leave no record of their purpose, show some love with a like. The mystery gets stranger from here. Before we dive into theories, let's establish what archaeological evidence actually tells us about these mysterious objects. Archaeological context: Roman dodecahedrons have been found in various contexts. Buried treasure hoards alongside coins and valuables in graves and burial sites, in settlements and domestic contexts, occasionally in military sites, sometimes as isolated finds in fields. But here's what's maddening. Despite being found in many different contexts, there are no consistent patterns that would reveal their function. They're not always found with the same types of objects. They're not consistently associated with military, religious, or domestic activities. The written record silenced: the Roman Empire was obsessively bureaucratic. They documented, military equipment and tactics, agricultural tools and techniques, religious rituals and implements, engineering devices and measurements, household items, and there uses medical instruments, children's toys. Yet in thousands of surviving Roman texts, military manuals, agricultural guides, household inventories, religious documents, there is not a single mention of dodecahedrons. Not one. This silence is extraordinary. It suggests either the objects had a purpose so obvious no one needed to explain it, their use was secret or restricted, they were so common they weren't worth mentioning, they served a purpose, were completely missing visual record. Silence. Romans created detailed mosaics, paintings, and sculptures depicting daily life. We see images of farming, cooking, warfare, religious ceremonies, games, and countless other activities. But no Roman artwork shows dodecahedrons being used. No mosaics depict them. No sculptures include them. They exist in the archaeological record but are absent from the visual record. No inscriptions. Some Roman objects bear inscriptions indicating their purpose, owner, or origin. Despite finding over 130 dodecahedrons, not one has been found with an inscription explaining what it is. The dodecahedrons show both standardization and variation. They're all 12-faced with knobs and holes, suggesting a common purpose. But the specific sizes of holes vary between specimens, suggesting customization for different uses or users. Manufacturing evidence. Analysis of dodecahedrons shows they were cast using lost wax technique, a sophisticated bronze working method. This means each one was individually crafted, not mass-produced from molds. Creating these objects required skilled labor, expensive materials, and significant time. Whatever they were for, people were willing to invest resources in making them. They weren't cheap trinkets. The most practical theory suggests Roman dodecahedrons were precision measuring instruments used for surveying, astronomy, or construction. The range-finding theory. Some researchers propose dodecahedrons were used to measure distances by looking through two holes of specific sizes, aligning them with objects of known size, like a person or standard building. Using the difference in hole sizes to calculate distance, the varying hole sizes could correspond to different distance measurements. Romans were excellent surveyors and engineers who needed precise tools. The bronze construction would make them durable for field use. The knobs could allow them to stand on various surfaces. Modern researchers have attempted to use dodecahedrons for range finding. Some claim to have achieved reasonable accuracy measuring distances to objects. Others find the method too imprecise to be useful. Problems with the measuring theory. Several issues undermine this explanation. Romans already had excellent surveying tools, the groma, dioptra, and chorobates. These were well documented, widely used, and highly accurate. Why would they need a mysterious additional tool that's never mentioned in surveying manuals? If dodecahedrons were essential surveying tools, we'd expect to find them across the entire empire, especially in regions with extensive construction projects. Instead, they're concentrated in northern provinces with relatively less infrastructure development. The variation in hole sizes between different dodecahedrons makes standardized measurement difficult. If they were measuring tools, you'd expect more uniformity. The astronomical instrument theory, an alternative version, suggests dodecahedrons were used to determine optimal planting dates by measuring sun angles, calculate astronomical events, track seasonal changes important for agriculture. This theory could explain why dodecahedrons are found primarily in northern provinces where seasonal variation is more extreme and agricultural timing is more critical. But again, Romans had established astronomical instruments. Why create a specialized tool that's never documented? And why would expensive bronze instruments be needed for basic agricultural astronomy when simple stick shadows worked fine? Here's what puzzles me most. If dodecahedrons were practical tools, why didn't the Romans document them? The empire documented everything else. What makes these objects different? Share your theories in the comments. Perhaps Roman dodecahedrons weren't practical tools at all. Maybe they served religious, mystical, or symbolic purposes, which could explain why they weren't documented in practical manuals. The sacred geometry theory. The dodecahedron is one of the 5 Platonic solids, perfect geometric shapes known to ancient Greek and Roman philosophers. Plato associated the dodecahedron with the universe itself, calling it the shape used by the deity to arrange the cosmos. For Romans familiar with Greek philosophy, dodecahedrons might have represented cosmic harmony and universal order, mathematical perfection, connection between earthly and divine realms, mystical knowledge reserved for initiates. Some dodecahedrons were found in burial contexts, suggesting ritual significance. The careful craftsmanship suggests objects of importance beyond mere utility. The geometric perfection might have had symbolic meaning. Mystery religions that kept practices secret were popular in Roman provinces. The fortune-telling theory. Some researchers propose dodecahedrons were used for divination or fortune-telling, dice or lot casting for prophecy, ritual objects for predicting futures, tools for making important decisions through chance. Romans regularly consulted auguries and omens. Specialized fortune-telling devices wouldn't be unusual. The dodecahedron's 12 faces could represent different outcomes or predictions. Problems with religious theories. Religious and mystical objects in Roman culture were typically depicted in religious art, mentioned in religious texts, found primarily in temple contexts associated with specific deities or cults. Dodecahedrons match none of these patterns. They're found in domestic contexts as often as burial contexts. No religious symbols appear on them. No temples have yielded significant numbers. If dodecahedrons were secret religious objects known only to initiates, how do we explain their wide distribution? Over 130 found across multiple provinces suggests common knowledge, not secret cult practices. The gaming piece theory. A variant suggests dodecahedrons were used in games or gambling, which Romans loved. Rolled like dice with different hole sizes indicating different values, used as gaming pieces in unknown board games. Gambling devices for calculating odds. Romans documented their games extensively. We know the rules for many Roman games. If dodecahedrons were gaming pieces, we'd expect to find them in gaming contexts with boards, counters, and dice. We don't. Some of the most creative theories suggest dodecahedrons served everyday practical purposes in crafts or trades. The knitting theory, one of the most popular modern theories, proposes dodecahedrons were used as knitting tools, specifically for making gloves or mittens. According to proponents, yarn would be threaded through the holes. The different hole sizes would create different finger widths. The knobs would anchor the yarn. Multiple gloves could be knit using one dodecahedron template. This theory appeals because northern provinces where dodecahedrons are found would need winter gloves. The varying hole sizes match varying finger widths. It explains why southern provinces didn't need them. It's a practical tool that might not be documented if universally understood. Modern craftspeople have attempted to use dodecahedrons for knitting. Some claim success creating glove fingers. Others find the method awkward and impractical. Fatal problems with knitting theory. We have extensive evidence of Roman textile production, weaving tools, spindles, needles, fabric samples. But no ancient source mentions using dodecahedrons for textile work. The type of knitting required for the dodecahedron theory, finger knitting or similar techniques, may not have existed in Roman times. The earliest clear evidence for knitting comes from medieval period, centuries after the Roman Empire. Why cast expensive bronze tools for making gloves when simpler, cheaper methods existed? The investment doesn't match the utility. The candle holder theory. Some suggest dodecahedrons held candles, with different hole sizes accommodating different candle widths. The knobs providing stable base. The geometric shape creating interesting light patterns. Romans had plenty of documented candle holders and lamps. Dodecahedrons would be unnecessarily complex and expensive for this basic function. The calibration tool theory. Engineers have proposed dodecahedrons calibrated or tested other tools. Measuring drill bit sizes, testing gauge accuracy, calibrating instruments. This explains the varying hole sizes, but not why such elaborate 3D geometry is needed, why they're found in non-industrial contexts, why no technical manuals mention them, why simple flat gauge plates weren't used instead. The scepter terminal theory. Some dodecahedrons might have topped ceremonial staffs or scepters. The knobs would catch light dramatically. The geometric shape conveyed authority or status. Different sizes indicated different ranks. Very few dodecahedrons show where patterns consistent with mounting on staffs. Most appear to be freestanding objects. Given the Roman Empire's military focus and the presence of some dodecahedrons in military contexts, several theories propose military applications. The standard top theory Roman military standards, the poles carried by legions, featured various decorative tops. Could dodecahedrons have served this purpose? Some dodecahedrons were found in military contexts. The impressive geometric shape would be visually striking. The bronze construction matches military metalwork would explain careful craftsmanship. We have extensive evidence of Roman military standards, and their decorations. Standard tops are well documented and don't include dodecahedrons. Military equipment was standardized across the empire, yet dodecahedrons are regionally limited, no military manuals. Mention them. The ballistic calculation theory. Some proposed dodecahedrons helped calculate trajectories for siege weapons or artillery. The holes could align with target distances. The geometric shape could compute angles. Military engineers would need such tools. Romans used sophisticated mathematics for artillery, but their documented tools were much simpler. Creating an elaborate bronze computer for ballistics seems unnecessarily complex when geometric principles could be applied more directly. The tactical marker theory. Could dodecahedrons have marked positions on military maps or tactical planning tables? Different hole sizes representing different unit sizes. The 3D shape preventing them from rolling away the knobs, making them easy to grasp and move. This is creative but speculative. No ancient sources describe such planning methods, and simpler tokens would serve the same purpose. After examining all major theories, we must confront an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe we're overthinking this. Maybe the answer is so mundane, so culturally specific to Roman northern provinces, that it's invisible to us. The cultural context problem. We're trying to understand objects from a culture 2,000 years removed from us. Some everyday items from our own culture would baffle future archaeologists. Imagine archaeologists 2,000 years from now finding: can openers? What kind of container needs the specific tool? Egg slicers. Why such a specialized device for one food? Garlic presses. Why not just use a knife? Without cultural context, everyday objects become mysterious. The everyone knows phenomenon. Perhaps dodecahedrons were so common and their use so obvious to Romans that no one bothered documenting them, like how we don't write instructions for using doorknobs. I know ancient Roman text explains how to use a bucket, despite buckets being ubiquitous. Some objects are too mundane to document. The multiple functions theory. Maybe dodecahedrons didn't have one single purpose. Perhaps different communities used them differently. They had multiple applications. Usage evolved over the centuries. They were produced. Regional variations served regional needs. Why? They're found in various contexts. Why? Hole sizes vary. Why? Geographic distribution is limited, but not exclusive. Why? No single theory fits all evidence. The lost knowledge problem. Consider how much Roman knowledge disappeared. Greek fires, formula. Damascus steel production methods, specific architectural techniques, various medicinal recipes, countless craft skills. Entire categories of Roman technology and practice are lost to us. The dodecahedrons might represent one such lost art that seemed unremarkable to Romans but is invisible to us. The deliberate destruction theory. A darker possibility. What if knowledge of dodecahedrons was deliberately suppressed or lost? If they had pagan religious significance, early Christians might have suppressed documentation. If they related to practices that became illegal or socially unacceptable, records might have been destroyed. If they represented knowledge of a specific group that was persecuted, the information might have died with them. Here's the question that keeps me up at night. What everyday objects from our own time will future archaeologists find completely baffling? What tools or items do we use daily that we never bother to document because everyone knows what they're for? Share your thoughts in the comments. In recent years, archaeologists have taken new approaches to solving the dodecahedron mystery. Using technology Romans couldn't have imagined. 3D scanning and modeling museums have created detailed 3D scans of dodecahedrons, allowing researchers worldwide to study them without handling fragile originals. Digital analysis reveals subtle variations in craftsmanship between specimens, precise mathematical relationships between hole sizes. In some examples, manufacturing techniques and tool marks, possible functional asymmetries invisible to naked eye. Experimental archaeology researchers have recreated dodecahedrons using Roman-era techniques, then tested various theories. Modern knitters have attempted to use replicas for making gloves with mixed results. Some claim success. Most find it impractical. Surveyors have tested range-finding theories with authentic replicas. Results are inconsistent, sometimes surprisingly accurate, sometimes completely useless. When dodecahedrons are lit from various angles, they create interesting shadow and light patterns. Whether this was intentional or coincidental remains unknown. Materials analysis. Modern metallurgy has analyzed the bronze composition of various dodecahedrons. Most are bronze or brass alloys typical of Roman metalwork. Some show where patterns suggesting regular handling, others appear nearly pristine, suggesting ceremonial or storage use. No consistent patterns emerge that would indicate specific function. Statistical analysis. Mathematicians have analyzed the whole size variations across all known dodecahedrons. Some specimens show mathematical progressions in whole sizes, others appear random. No universal pattern explains all examples. This suggests either multiple functions or customization for individual users. The 2019 discovery. In 2019, an exceptional dodecahedron was discovered in England with unusual features, better preserved than most found with more contextual evidence. Slightly different construction techniques still doesn't definitively answer what they were for. Each new discovery generates excitement that this time we'll finally know, and each time the mystery persists. Crowdsourcing theories. Museums have engaged public participation. Online platforms for proposing theories, citizen science projects testing hypotheses, 3D printing replicas for global experimentation, academic papers examining new proposals. Dozens of new theories have emerged, but none has achieved consensus among archaeologists. The dodecahedron mystery remains unsolved. The Roman dodecahedrons represent more than just puzzling objects. They challenge fundamental assumptions about archaeology and historical knowledge. The limits of evidence. Dodecahedrons prove that having physical objects isn't enough to understand the past. Without written or visual context, even simple tools can become incomprehensible. If we can't figure out what Romans, a well-documented civilization, used these objects for, how much else about the past are we completely wrong about? The documentation gap. The dodecahedrons reveal that even bureaucratic civilizations don't document everything. There are always gaps, always assumptions of common knowledge that never get written down. Think about what we don't document in our own era because it seems obvious. Future historians will face similar mysteries. The appeal of mystery. Perhaps part of why dodecahedrons fascinate us is that they resist solution. In an age where we can look up any answer instantly, an unsolvable mystery is rare and precious. Dodecahedrons remind us that some questions might not have answers, or that the answers are lost beyond recovery. That's both frustrating and oddly comforting. After examining all evidence and theories, we must accept that Roman dodecahedrons might remain forever mysterious. They exist in a frustrating space between known and unknowable. We can hold them in our hands, measure them precisely, analyze their composition, and still have no idea what Romans used them for. Over 130 have been found. None has revealed its secret. Maybe that's okay. Maybe not everything from the past needs to be solved. Maybe some mysteries serve us better unsolved, reminding us how much we don't know, how much has been lost, how fragile human knowledge really is. Or maybe tomorrow, someone will pick up a dodecahedron, align it a certain way, and suddenly understand exactly what it was for. Obvious, practical, and so simple we'll wonder how we missed it for 200 years. Until then, the Roman dodecahedrons remain what they've always been: perfectly crafted, geometrically precise, and utterly mysterious objects that the Roman Empire created by the hundreds but never bothered to explain. If this dive into archaeology's most frustrating unsolved mystery has left you both fascinated and frustrated, smash that like button and subscribe for more historical puzzles that defy explanation. And here's my question for you. What do you think Roman dodecahedrons were used for? Drop your theory in the comments. Maybe you'll be the one to finally solve this 2,000-year-old mystery. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Until then, remember, The past is a foreign country. Sometimes, they did things there that we'll never understand.